Ahmad Rahman. And I want to offer my condolences and my prayers and my energy to his family, who are the living legacy that we have in front of us and with us today. I met Dr. Ahmad Rahman about 10 years ago, and I was doing the interview of him at the Black Star bookstore. Some of you remember the Black Star bookstore on Livernois and the Avenue of Fashion. And I was interviewing him, and he was telling me about, of course, his own life in the Black Panther Party, but he was also talking about the Black Panther Party and the struggle for Black people to have freedom against oppression in a larger sense. And so he was talking about the murder of Mark Clark and Fred Hampton in Chicago. He was telling me about this story that I heard something about before, but he was giving me an insight in it that I had never known before. And so we had other people who came up here and talked about COINTELPRO. You have to understand what that did to our history, because our history would be different if certain people hadn't been assassinated or put in jail or destroyed or lied on. And so it changed the trajectory of our history. And so I understood that after this interview. And so I'm going to talk very quickly of just about three conversations we had. We had these three, we had many conversations, but I was going to talk about three. So last year in Memphis, I was at the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. I'm the president of the Detroit chapter. At that time, I was the vice president, and it was my first convention, first conference. It was in Memphis, Tennessee. And so the conference had ended, and I walked out of the hotel, and bam, I'm on Beale Street. And it's nighttime. I was about to get into some trouble. Straight up. I'm telling you right now. So I'm walking down the street, the blues is playing, stuff is open. They done blocked off the streets. That's what they do on Beale Street every night and when it's warm. And I'm about to go for it. And I hear, "What's up, black man?" And I'm like, oh, I know who it is. I have to change what I'm about to do. Because Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman is calling me. So I turn around, and it's Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman. So now I go back into, "What's up, brother?" And we talking about real stuff now, something serious. That wasn't where I was about to go. But it changed my trajectory. And I fix myself up. I did that the next night. So that was one conversation. And another conversation we had not that long ago, maybe a couple of months ago. I had a tour. I do history tours here in Detroit. And I had a tour, and the tour, we took a break for lunch. And some of the people on the tour wanted to go to Whole Foods to get some food. We walked in, and I heard, "What's up, black man?" And I looked and I saw Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman, and he took some time. This wasn't planned. He took some time to talk to my group about the history of himself, but also the history of the Black Panther Party and our movement for freedom and against oppression. He wasn't paid for that. I didn't expect to see him there. He just did that. And that's who Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman was. So, in that conversation, he also talked about legacy, and that we have to leave a legacy, because Edison is gone, but everybody knows something about Edison. He's no longer here, but we know he got electricity. You know something about Edison. And he went on about other people who you don't have to say what they did. Their legacy speaks for itself. And this is what he said, he's talking to my group. and me, because I'm just still a student when it comes to talking to Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman. So he's talking to us, and I'm soaking all this in. We gotta leave a legacy. Yeah, I mean, you're right, brother, right? We didn't leave a legacy. So I leave out there, and as part of my tours, I add that as part of the presentation I give on my tour. We gotta leave a legacy. Sometimes I give Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman the credit. Sometimes. So Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman belongs in that long tradition in Detroit, but throughout the country and the world, but I'm talking about Detroit right now. In Detroit, of these freedom fighters who put it all on the line for us. Many of us, we don't know their name, but there's a pantheon of them. And Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman has joined that pantheon. So we talked about him earlier, Brother Chokwe Lumumba. What's up, black man?
That's right.
Brother Imari and Gaidi Obadeli, Miller, Richard Henry. What's up, black man? The Honorable Coleman Alexander Young. What's up, black man? We have so many of them. Down the street from this museum, there is a church, Bethel AME Church, where a young girl was raised, and she lived on the north end, 313 Hague Street, graduated from Northern High School, Betty Bahia Shabazz, here in Detroit.
Yes.
So when we talk about these great people in Detroit, there's this pantheon. Dr. Ahmad Rahman is in great company with this pantheon of great black people in Detroit. So our last conversation occurred the day before he passed. We were at D-Town Farm at the Harvest Festival. And I was going by a booth. I had my kids with me. And I stopped, and I saw him, and he, what's up, black man? So, of course, I stopped and talked to the brother for a while, and we talked about, of course, having my tours as part of his class. So his students would take my tour, my Black History tours in Detroit as part of his class on civil rights. But also, we talked about, he saw my children there, he was like, every decision you make has to be made in the context of your family, your children. So the things you do, the things you don't do, the choices you make, the choices you don't make, have to be made with them in mind. So we talked about all kinds of stuff throughout my time of knowing him. I mean, we talked about the Black Panther Party, we talked about COINTELPRO, we talked about the Civil Rights Movement, we talked about the refugees who are leaving Africa and Asia and going to Europe right now. We talked about Haiti, we talked about all kinds of stuff. But probably the most important conversation we had, we was talking about our children. So that brings it all home for all of us. So when we're talking about and we're dealing with the oppression that's going on in our community, when we're dealing with fighting against that oppression, when we're dealing with revolutionary decisions that we don't have to make or we should be having to make, we also should be thinking about our children, which is where Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman told me to make my decisions based on. So I'm just saying to you, and I'm saying to Baba Dr. Ahmad Rahman, what's up, black man?
Thank you, Baba Jamon. Baba Jamon was the teacher of my granddaughter, Isis. So I've come to love him for a lot of different reasons.